It's time for another sheetload of cards. Hey guys, it's Beth. Welcome. It's time for another sheetload of cards from Call Me Crafty Al, and this month I'm going to be working with the bees, like page kit from the paper studio at Hobby Lobby. This is the April 2024 sheetload of cards from Call Me Crafty Al. It makes 12 cards. She gives you the cutting guide, the sketch, the supply list, everything you need to make that set of 12 cards. I went ahead and pre-cut all of my card pieces in advance. The cutting guide tells you exactly how to cut each sheet of paper. So I went ahead and cut down all my pieces, and now I'm just going to adhere the square piece there to the mat. I chose 2 sheets from the collection, and then I found some light yellow cardstock in my stash to use as the mat. This is a collaboration for the design team for the sheetload of cards, so please check the playlist that is listed in the description box down below to see all of the collaborators and all of the cards they make using this month's sheetload. I was feeling a little springy, and so that's why I pulled out this collection. I thought the colors were pretty, and I've seen a lot of people using bees for spring lately, so I was just kind of in the mood to play with the bees and the spring florals. Next, I'm going to go ahead and adhere my mat to the card base. These are all A2 size cards. There will be a link in the description box below as well for Call Me Crafty Al's video where she shows you the current sheet load and tells you how you can get a copy as well. All she asks is that you be a subscriber of her channel. If you should want past sheet loads, there is an option if you become a member of her channel to get access to the archives of all the past sheet loads. So something to think about if you have not seen them yet and would like to get the past sheet load sketches and guides. One thing I love about this sheet load is it just makes batch card making so quick. I donate a lot of my cards, and so the sheet loads make it really easy to make a bunch of cards at one time that I can donate. The cutting guide calls for the square to be cut into 2 pieces diagonally, and I played with the first few trying to figure out exactly where on the square I wanted to cut each side, and then I'm going to go ahead and cut the rest of them down. She's really good about giving you any tips and tricks that you need to complete that sheet load, and then she also gives you ideas on additional things that you can add to the sheet load or change it up. So I can go ahead and adhere my squares down to the front of my cards. On this first card, I kind of play with spacing, trying to figure out where I want to, lay everything on the card base there. And then going forward, it's pretty quick to lay down the rest of those pieces. I think I said that this month the sheet load was used 12 by 12 paper. Sometimes she does use 6 by 6. This month she is back to using 12 by 12 sheets, which I have a ton of. So was happy to be able to use up some of this bee kit. Get the rest of these pieces adhered down. And usually when I'm doing the sheet load, I tend to pick patterns where one is more of a solid and then one is, a busier pattern, just because I know when you layer them, it's kind of nice for your eye to have a little bit of a break instead of you know, even if you're matting, sometimes it's hard to see a busy pattern on a busy pattern. So whenever I'm choosing the papers for my sheet load, that is one thing that I do try to keep in mind. Now that I have getting my last one on, I can add my sentiment. And I am going to use a couple pieces of ephemera that came with this kit for some of the sentiments. This one I turned the card horizontal because that ephemera piece was oriented horizontally. And then the rest of them I am going to use their sentiments that I printed from my silhouette. It was a design I purchased and then printed it out on some white cardstock and then used a hexagon die to kind of mimic the honeycomb from the bees, and I'm using that kind of as the focal point with my sentiment on it. Then we'll get this last one on here. And then based on the cutting guide, you are going to have some scraps. So there was a strip along the right-hand side of the pattern paper and then along the bottom. And I cut those down to 4-inch strips, and I'm going to make 2 extra cards. So there was one strip that was a little bit wider than the other one. And so I'm alternating the size as well as the pattern of the strips to kind of make my card fronts, and then we'll use some ephemera to act as my focal point and sentiment on the front of these cards. So I just kind of figured out the placement of each of the strips before I started adhering those down. And these just, the widths worked out perfectly to fill the front of my A2 size card. And then this used up a good portion of the scraps that I had after cutting down all of my sheet load pieces. So that was really nice. So then on this card, I'm going to have the wider strips of the orange background and thinner strips of the floral. And I just kind of liked alternating the patterns as well as the sizes. I thought it was kind of a good contrast. Now that my card fronts are finished up, I can embellish. There was a sticker pack as well, and so I pulled out one of the stickers and put it on a die cut oval, and I'm using that for the front of one card, and then I'm going to use that blue ephemera piece for my other card. And then for the strips that are left over, those are going to go on the inside of my cards. So I also have some strips of the cardstock that I used for my matting, and I will add a little strip there at the bottom of all 10 cards. So here's a final look at the 10 cards I made, the sheet load plus the 2 bonus with the scraps. Please be sure to check out the playlist for all the participants in the collaboration in the description box below, as well as Alicia's video link. Thank you so much for your time today, and hope you all have a very crafty day.